What's more Italian-American than spaghetti and meatballs? On today's show, I'm going to share my surprisingly delicious vegan version of this much-loved staple. With a jazzy salad and sweet dessert to round out the menu, I'm going to serve up a taste of Italy right here on Jazzy Vegetarian.
Jazzy, you're going to be healthy with the Jazzy Vegetarian. Jazzy, so snazzy. We're gonna cook something healthy and light. Jazzy, so snazzy.
So join me in the kitchen right now.
We're gonna cook something healthy and light. That's right.
A weeknight meal is never humdrum when the star of the meal is pasta. My spaghetti and wheat balls make this meal shine with authentic taste and texture. Then, vegan Caesar salad with cashew parmesan adds a classic flair, while my pear, apple, and walnut crostata finishes the meal with gusto. So let's share a taste of Italy and mangia! I used to love meatballs when I was a child, and of course I've always loved spaghetti. So I came up with this recipe that really is going to satisfy if you have a hankering for meatballs. But of course they're wheat balls. They really end up tasting very close to the real thing, and they're so easy to do. I'm going to start off by making some fresh breadcrumbs. It's really important to have nice soft breadcrumbs for this because the breadcrumbs are what's going to hold our wheat balls together because, of course, we're not using any dairy, any eggs. And I'm going to make about 1 1/3 cups of fresh breadcrumbs, which is about 3 or 4 slices of fresh whole grain bread. So that is perfect. The fresh breadcrumbs are what's going to hold the wheat balls together. Let's see if I have enough here. You do want them to be lightly packed. It's 1 cup. And then another 1/3. Yes, that's perfect. Excellent. Now, to that, I'm going to add some Italian seasoning because, of course, we're making an Italian dish today, a taste of Italy. So what I have is 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Then I have a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt. We're just going to stir that all together to get our base flavor happening. What else are we going to add that's going to make them kind of meaty? I have 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts. And we're also going to grind them right up. You just want to put them on a low speed. That's what you're looking for. You want them to be kind of like a coarse walnut flour. So now we're going to add more taste, more texture to our wheat balls, and yet another component that's going to help to hold them together. What I'm using here is 2 cups of chopped mushrooms. You can use cremini or white button mushrooms. Now we're going to add a 1/2 cup of freshly diced onion to this wheat ball recipe. There was something I knew that I wanted to have as a component of this recipe. I wanted to be able to bake the wheat balls. That's what's so fantastic about this recipe. We're going to bake them. We're not going to fry them. There we go. Just a rough dice. Doesn't have to be too fancy. We're really just doing that for measure. So I've got 2 cups of chopped mushrooms, and I have a 1/2 cup of diced onion. We're just going to process this to a nice chunky puree. That looks pretty good. That's kind of what you're looking for, a puree with a few little flecks of onions and mushrooms in there. Absolutely perfect. That's going to mimic a regular meatball where you might have a little bit of that chopped onion in there. Now today I'm doing a Jazzy Vegetarian shortcut, and I am going to use a prepared vegan marinara sauce. You know, that's a great thing I love to have in my kitchen. I love to keep several different flavors of jarred marinara sauce because it can make any meal come together like that. But if you have a fantastic homemade marinara you want to use with this, feel free to do so. But today we're going to cheat a little bit and just use the jarred variety. It's still going to taste fantastic. So the wheat balls themselves are going to ultimately be flavored by cooking for a short period of time in whatever marinara sauce you use. I'm going to spoon out a little bit of my mixture and just roll it into a wheat ball. That is all there is to it. Now you can make them small, you can make them larger, anything you want. And I do want to make a note. If you are first starting on a journey to a more plant-based diet, this is a great recipe to start with. And here's the reason why. These wheat balls really mimic that kind of texture that you'd have with a meatball. This is also a really great recipe to make if you're having guests. You can actually make the wheat balls in advance, and then you can warm them up in the sauce later on. I'm going to show you how to do that. So it's a real easy recipe to serve, very, very crowd-pleasing. And this is just perfect. I'm going to put them into a 350-degree oven, and I'm going to let them bake for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to rotate them, turn them so that they get evenly browned, and bake them for another 12 to 18 minutes so they get all crispy and golden on the outside. This fabulous recipe is in my cookbook. And the next one is too. Yes, I'm making my wonderful pear, apple, and walnut crostata. You want to stick around for that one.
I've got some mushrooms, I've got some onions, I've got some breadcrumbs. Put them all together and what do you get? Wheat balls.
Pear, apple, and walnut crostata. A crostata basically is a pie made with dough, and you fold the crust over and the fruit kind of peeks out. And this really isn't all that, but it does have the fruit filling in it, and I'm doing an oat, walnut, and raisin and coconut crust on it. So it's really a cross between a pie and a crostata. And of course, a crostata is a traditional Italian dessert. And this is how it goes. I'm starting off with 2/3 of a cup of raisins. Toss them right in there. And then I have 1/3 of a cup of chopped walnuts. Then I have got 1/4 cup of shredded, dried, unsweetened coconut. And then instead of flour, I'm using 1/2 cup of rolled oats. I love using rolled oats. I use them a lot. That, believe it or not, is going to be our crust for our crostata. And here we go. Perfect. And this is rustic. The crostata normally is very rustic. I have a 9-inch pie plate here, which I have oiled out with a little bit of vegan margarine. I'm just going to bring this crust partway up the side. It doesn't have to go all the way up the side. You're going to work with this, so you're going to have a beautiful base for your fruit. I'm using apples and firm pears along with walnuts for my filling today. So see how I have done this? The crust doesn't go all the way up the side, and that's what we're looking for. Let me just rinse off my hands. I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees, but it is time to make the filling. I'm starting off with a beautiful Rome apple. Yummy, yum, yum. These are great to buy at the farm market. You know what they say, an apple a day. I just love apples. And I'm in apple heaven right now. Look at all these beautiful apples that they've just picked here at my farm market. Apples are so versatile. Just take them just like they are and great snack. You can also slice them and spread them with a little peanut butter and make a really great sweet afternoon snack for kids. So that's a great jazzy tip. So apples, versatile, delicious. I love to cook with apples. So let's get back to cooking our apples. I have done this with Gala apples before. You could use a Fuji apple. You could even use a Granny Smith apple. Really, any apple is just fine and dandy for this dish. I am going to peel it. We're going to slice it into fairly even slices, but this is really, really rustic, so the slices don't have to be perfect. So you do want to slice them fairly thin for this. This pie is just going to bake for about 35 to 45 minutes at 375 degrees. I smell those wheat balls. Let's just take a little gaze at them. Ooh, those are coming along absolutely beautifully. I'm going to turn them now. See how they're getting nice and brown on the bottom? That's what you're looking for. So I'm going to rotate them. I might rotate them one more time before I finish cooking them. They're going to go back in the oven for about 12 to 18 minutes. So right now we're going to add pears. Just going to peel that pear. You do want to make sure your pears are very, very firm. Otherwise you're going to end up with a runny pie, and we don't want that. So I'm starting with 2 very firm Anjou pears. You can also use Basque pears. And this pie is great to serve for dessert, for family, for weeknight, for a fancy dinner. Now I'm just going to slice the rest of my pear slices. I love fresh fruit baked. I think my mother and my grandmother always were making fruit pies and fruit crisps and fruit crumbles. Don't you just love that? All right, so of course we need walnuts, and I'm using 1/3 cup of chopped walnuts, just tossing them right in there. We do need a little bit of sweet, and the first thing I'm going to add is some maple sugar. And we want 1 heaping tablespoon of the sugar. Now I want to have a little bit of liquid, but I want more sweet too. So I'm going to add 1 heaping tablespoon of maple syrup, and then I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. That is the whole thing. So you're going to toss this all around and make sure that each piece of fruit is coated with a little bit of that cinnamon, a little bit of that maple sugar, and a little bit of that maple syrup. Yummy, yum, yum, yum. Let me just finish this off with my wooden spoon. That is gorgeous. Now I'm just going to toss this right into my crust, just like that. As the pie cooks, that fruit is going to cook down. So it looks like a lot now, but it's going to be a lot flatter when we're done with it. And you can't have too much fruit in a fruit pie. Look how beautiful that is. That's going to go into a 375-degree oven for about 35 to 45 minutes, or until the fruit is nice and soft and the little edges of the crust are slightly golden. If the crust starts getting too brown before your fruit has cooked through, just tint it with a little bit of foil. Up next, my fabulous jazzy vegetarian Caesar salad. How's she going to do that? Stick around, you'll find out. Caesar salad. Caesar salad, you say? Well, you make that with eggs and with anchovies. Well, I thought about this for many a moon. I started toying around with some combinations, but it wasn't quite perfect. Then my friend Suzanne came up with the idea, use capers instead of anchovies. And it was just the perfect little pop of taste to make my Caesar salad dressing absolutely perfect. But of course, Caesar salad has to have some awesome croutons in it. So we're going to make some homemade croutons. The prep is only 5 minutes, so really, really worthwhile. What I have here is 6 slices of whole grain bread. Each piece of bread is going to be sliced into 9 cubes. That's what we're looking for. Because you think of those Caesar salads when you go into a steakhouse, and they always have those big, gigantic croutons, and that's what we're going to do. But we're going to make them homemade. They're just going to be awesome. I love these. But we've got to add some taste. So we're going to add 1 tablespoon of Italian herbs. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I do like to use garlic powder instead of fresh garlic for this because that garlic powder really gets into all the little crevices of the bread. That is all there is to it. It is simple as can be. I'm going to spread these croutons in kind of an even layer in a large baking sheet lined with a sheet of unbleached parchment paper. So there are my homemade croutons. I'm going to pop them into a 400-degree oven. I'm going to bake them for 12 to 15 minutes until they're nice and crisp. Halfway through, you do want to rotate them so they get evenly crisped on all sides. So let me just pop that in the oven. So it's the dressing that really makes a Caesar salad. But of course, all Caesar salad dressings have lemon juice. And we're using fresh lemon juice today. And I'm going to squeeze about 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. Then tofu makes a beautiful base for this dressing. So I'm using 7 to 8 ounces of firm tofu. Just break it right in there. That's about half of a block. And then, instead of anchovies, I'm using capers. I'm using 2 teaspoons of capers, which I have rinsed and drained very well. And then 1 heaping teaspoon of Dijon mustard. That's also helping to take place of that egg in there. Give it that real Caesar salad dressing color. 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt. And I'm going to add 1 medium clove of garlic. Let's take a look at that. So that is looking beautiful. But I am going to add a little bit of water to this today. Depends on how firm your tofu is. If it's very firm, like the one I used today, you're going to add about a teaspoon or so of water to just get it to that perfect dressing consistency. Just add that water a teensy-tiny bit at a time. I know that's a culinary term, teensy-tiny bit. There we go. That is going to be absolutely perfect. Nice and creamy and thick. That is going to make a fabulous dressing for our Caesar salad. Ooh, yeah. So let me get this into a bowl, and we're going to get our pasta started. Wheatballs are out of the oven. Don't those look fantastic? I wish you could smell them too. They smell absolutely amazing. So what I've done is one of my best jazzy tips. I'm just using a prepared jarred vegan marinara sauce. I've got 3 cups of marinara. You can use your favorite homemade too. And I've got it simmering. And what we're going to do is just drop our wheat balls right into the marinara sauce and just let them simmer. You just want to heat them through. It's time to put our pasta in. So let's get that going. I've got 3/4 of a pound of organic spaghetti, and I've got a large pot of boiling water seasoned with sea salt. You want to be generous with that sea salt in there. Put your spaghetti in whole, and I'm going to watch that very closely. And we just want to cook that spaghetti al dente. Alrighty, now I said I was going to make some cashew parmesan. This beautifully takes the place of Parmesan cheese. We're going to use this with the Caesar salad and with our spaghetti and wheat balls. And we're going to begin with about 2 teaspoons or so of lemon zest. Alrighty, do a little rough chop on that. Excellent. So I've got 2 teaspoons of lemon zest. And to that, I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. I have 1 cup of raw cashews. Just toss them right in there. Then just let it rip. Woo, yeah. That is perfect. Now make sure not to process it too long, because it will go from that Parmesan cheese texture right into cashew butter. You don't want cashew butter. This is what you're looking for. Look at that. That's a beautiful Parmesan cheese consistency. Well, let's just check on our wheat balls. Oh, yeah, they're coming along. Our pasta's about done, and I think we're ready to plate up our fabulous Taste of Italy menu. And I get to taste it for you.
Spaghetti and wheat balls, oh yeah, yummy too. Spaghetti and wheat balls, good for you. Don't you know I love them too? Spaghetti and wheat balls, tasty too. I love my spaghetti and wheat balls.
And I say, mangia! It's time to eat my Taste of Italy menu. Oh, time for me to give it a taste, that is. Doesn't it look absolutely fabulous? But I've got to take a taste of this fantastic salad. I tossed that dressing I made with 12 cups of cleaned and dried romaine lettuce. Then I added my toasted croutons, put a little bit of that cashew parmesan on top. Now it's time to give it a little jazzy taste. Wow. That is fabulous. That crisp crouton and the delicious crisp lettuce. And that dressing is so rich, it tastes like it's 1,000,000 calories, but it's very, very low in fat. Can't wait to taste my wheat balls. Look how beautiful that looks. I'm just going to taste one for you right now. Show you what they look like. Look at that. They hold together beautifully. Let me take a taste test. That is fabulous. If you want to try a vegan meal, I suggest you give it a try with this fantastic meal. A little bit of that wheat ball, a little bit of that spaghetti. I'm going to be a little messy here, but what is Italian food? It gets a little messy. That is absolutely out of this world. Highly recommended. Now for a little bit of sweet. And this is a little bit of sweet. There's very little processed sugar in this pie. The fruit and the raisins really sweeten it right up. Take a little bite here. Simple ingredients, but that is amazing. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. The next time you look to cook up a Taste of Italy, I hope you'll turn to the recipes on today's show. So until next time, be happy, be healthy, and be well. From the Jazzy Vegetarian.
Visit our website at jazzyvegetarian.com to connect with Laura, see videos, find your favorite recipes, and more. Follow Laura on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Companion cookbooks to the Jazzy Vegetarian series contain beautiful full-color photos and include recipes featured each season.
This 10th anniversary edition companion cookbook features full-color photos, menu plans, and over 120 recipes.
For more information or to order, visit jazzyvegetarian.com.
Organic love, 100% natural. Yes, it is now. Organic love. I've got no additives or no preservatives. It's real intuitive. It's downright primitive. Organic love is 100% natural. Yes, it is now.